a little earlier, I did speak to the Technology Secretary, Peter Kyle.
Well, it's taking steps forward and it's also delivering. So we have now calculated that the NHS app has saved 1.5 million appointments from being missed. So it is alerting people to appointments that are coming up. If people can't make it, they can cancel it via the app. So rather than actually having to go and sit on the phone or forget it altogether, the app is playing a really meaningful role in the functioning of the NHS. Now, people might think that that isn't a big thing, but when you aggregate that over to the whole of the NHS, it's 1.5 million appointments being used at the same time that we're delivering 3 million additional appointments, which is what we've done since we got into office. And you can see this is why we're making such big progress on the waiting lists overall, because of the investment and reform that's been led by Wes Streeting in the NHS.
Just listening to you there, you get a sense of the scale of this, because there's a lot of data on the NHS, I'm right? And you know where I'm going with this. We know the US tech giant Palantir has been given a contract to kind of create a joined-up database of records. Can you understand why some people are worried about privacy?
I can. There is two dangers here. There is a danger that we use data and get it wrong. There is a second danger that we don't move forward, we don't use danger, and patients miss out. They miss out on having their scans being made available and shared between GPs and hospitals and clinics. They miss out on the opportunity for being able to book appointments, cancel appointments, to interact with their doctors via an app.
So you're saying that there is a risk, but it's a risk worth taking. Is that what you're saying?
So I've chosen, and we as a government have chosen, to embrace this technology, to bed in safety from the outset and make sure we get it right, because the bigger risk is that we allow the rest of the world to move on and we leave the NHS in the analogue age. We can't allow that to happen because it's not fit for patients. It would be a bad system itself, and it wouldn't deliver the value for money and the change that people really expect from their NHS. I've got to tell you, that most people are anxious that data is not being used wisely and assertively on their behalf than they are about it being used unsafely.
Look, this is all what you want to talk about today, right? You know, what you perhaps don't want to talk about is immigration. Sky News understands more than 10,000 migrants have now crossed the Channel this year. Several small boats picked up today. Are we in control of that border with France?
I am really keen to talk about this, and the government is very keen to talk about these issues. We have inherited a system...
You haven't done a great job. I'm not sure why you're so keen to talk about it.
Well, Sophie, we have increased returns by a third since the government took office. We are getting much more proficient at returning people who don't have the right to be here. We are laying the foundations. We are building the agreements with the French and other countries that people travel through, so that we can get a grip on the travel that people make across the continent through to Britain.
So you're keen to talk about the returns, but what I'm talking about here is the number of people making the crossing here. And this year so far, it is the worst since we started recording this. From yesterday, 9,885 people crossing since January. 2024, for example, that figure was just over 7,000. I mean, it's been increasing.
So we have been unfortunate in having a set of climatic conditions which has made it much easier to cross.
Some people would say that it's the pull factor. That's what some people would say. That's what the Conservatives would say.
There is no pull when we're returning a third more people than the Tories did. The Tories had a system which was reliant entirely on sending people to Rwanda, and they didn't send a single one there that wasn't a volunteer. So we have increased the returns by a third. We are bringing efficiencies into the system. We are making sure that the application system is dealt with much, much swifter. But we also have to tackle the horrific backlog that we inherited with tens of thousands of people that the Tories let into our country, parked in hotels and put into a no-man's land where they weren't even allowed to stay here and they weren't returned.
More people are crossing the Channel since you came into power than they have done since records began.
And we are making sure...
And if you're saying that you've helped the pull factor, then that's not what the figures are saying.
Well, listen, we've been in for 8 months. We inherited a broken system. We are fixing the system. We are bringing robust measures into that system, and we are increasing the processing time that people, when they do come here, and we are increasing the number of people who are returned when they shouldn't be here in the first place. Now, we are trying to make sure that a very complex set of circumstances through which people get through here, and the criminal gangs which deliver them here to our shores, are tackled. We need agreement to do that with other countries and their criminal justice systems. The Home Secretary has been absolutely fulsome in her work with the French, with other countries to make sure that we can have these cooperation agreements, and they will deliver. But right now, because of the climatic conditions there, it's making it easier to travel across the Channel, but we are tackling them once they do, and we are laying the foundations for a much swifter process to stop them getting here in the first place.
Can I just ask briefly on the youth mobility scheme, which yes. I know you don't want to lump in legal and illegal migration to the same pot, but it does have an impact on numbers as well. So there's been lots of talk about reintroducing a youth mobility scheme, which would allow young people from Britain and the EU to travel and work in other countries. Is that something you'd personally support?
These are negotiations that are underway at the moment, and in any negotiations, when you enter into them with good faith, you allow your negotiating partners to come with what they want out of an agreement. We go in there with the things we want out of the agreement.
Do you like the idea, then?
And you discuss. It doesn't matter whether I like or dislike this agreement. They are part of negotiations, and we will put Britain's interests first. We will deliver a deal.
Sounds like a bit of a dodge to me.
Well, it's just I'm not doing the negotiations, and even if I were, I wouldn't be doing them with you. I wouldn't be able to do as, and everyone understands why.
No opinions in the cabinet. I get it.
Everyone understands why.
Speak with one voice.
Those cabinet members who are doing the negotiations need to have the space to do so without me going on the TV and doing the negotiations in public. These negotiations are carrying on. They're really functional. They are very forthright. And we're tackling lots of the big issues that we want to get out of this. And we're trying to find areas of agreement. The very fact you're not seeing daily walkouts and you're not seeing daily collapses and the psychodrama of before is that we are assertively putting forward Britain's interest, but we're working in a really functional way with our negotiating partners across the EU because they will benefit from the agreements that we will put on the table, and we want to make sure that those are mutual.
Talking about walkouts, some of the unions are threatening strike action over pay. The Times reporting the independent pay review body has recommended a 4% pay rise for teachers, considerably higher than the 2.8% that Rachel Reeves budgeted for. Now, I'm going to be very careful in how I phrase this question, because I know you'll say, I don't want to comment on leaks, etc., etc. Will you follow the recommendations of the pay review body? So
we are now in the process of analysing the recommendations. I haven't seen them, so I can't even comment as to whether they're correct or not, but we do not comment on leaks, you're absolutely right. And it will go through the process in the functional, correct way. But what we are absolutely determined is to deliver value for money for taxpayers. We will have a grip on public finances, and we will deliver for workers.
See, the other thing that some of the teaching bodies are worried about is that if there is a pay rise, it will just come from existing school budgets. And this is the thing, isn't it? Because more money for teachers sounds great, but then if you're a parent and you find out that it's being spent by cutting teaching assistants or getting less textbooks or stopping music lessons, then that doesn't sound so great. So would this be new money?
And this is the inheritance that we are trying to deal with, because the only settlement that we inherited was more tax or less spending. There is an alternative way, and that's to get growth into the economy. And we are doing everything, well, right? And we are absolutely working assiduously for it. The regulatory reform, the planning reform, the modernisation of our economy, the increase in R&D and innovation in our country by 8.5%. We are absolutely going hell for leather for growth for our country. And that is what will get us out of this vicious spiral and the horrible choices that we have to make because of our inheritance.
You can't guarantee that it won't be existing school budgets.
Well, as I said, I can't come on to your programme and do the negotiations which are underway in government at the moment and need to go through the processes.
Understood.
When
Always
they come
ashamed,
out,
but I understand what you're saying.
But when they come out, I'm never shy of coming on your show, and I'll be on here to explain why we've made the decisions we have. But I will say now that we are still in the process of making very, very tough decisions in order to get a grip on our finances, get our economy up and running again, and getting Britain back to its full potential, which it hasn't been for far too long.
OK, great to have you, as always. Thank you, Peter Carter.